Relaxed conversation discussing Ukraine and ElevenLabs, the voice of AI first government. We have Martin Stanishevsky and Dmitro Ovcharenko from AI CTO of AI Center of Excellence. Вітаю, Марчине. Приємно бачити вас у Києві. Дякую за те, що завітали. Моє перше питання до вас. Я знаю, що ви також із Східної Європи будете. Чи не можете ви нам коротко розповісти, що таке ElevenLabs, яка їхня історія і яка історія заснування компанії, її розвою? Дякую, що запросили. І для мене велика втіха бачити вас, пане Дмитре. Я буду з Польщі. І дуже важливо усвідомити, що коли ви дивитесь всякі кіна в Польщі, у нас все дублюється одним голосом. Жіночий один і чоловічий один. І працювали з технологією штучного інтелекту. Ми знаємо, що в майбутньому ми змінимо. Ми будемо мати всі дубляжі наближені до першотвору, інтонаційно, тощо, емоційно. Коли президент Зеленський говорив із президентом Трампом, ми могли чути те, що говорив президент Зеленський українською, і також чути англійською те, що штучний інтелект обертав наперед. Ми, як компанія, це зробили. 400 людей. Ми зростаємо щонайшвидше в Європі. Майже 6 мільйонів доларів наша ринкова вартість. Ми маємо розробників і ми також раді тут перебувати. Дякуємо за те, що запросили. Чудово. Ми маємо питання з дубляжем. Я пригадую, як це почалося. ElevenLabs. Я був здивований, що українська була присутня на платформі, і ми бачимо, що там працює багато українців. Вони зробили свій дорогоцінний внесок. Це бадьорий дух наших українських працівників. Ми маємо чимало людей, що працюють у нас з України. Маємо поляків, і ми вважали, що буде дуже важливо опанувати європейські мови у нашому вченні, не тільки англійською, сподіваємося, що воно добре.
Languages like Ukrainian, like Polish. So the work on dubbing a lot of content initially with Lex and President Zelensky, actually now is true across so many other work items too, where you can actually bring it to Ukrainian and make it sound great. But then if you think about agents' work too, one of the key things across the voice is that all the voice are different. There's different dialects, different accents, of course different styles of conversation, different age, and you want to be able to represent all of them. One thing that we've created is that we have a marketplace for voices where everyone can create their voice, share the voice with permission, and then when that voice is being used, you earn money as a result. And we have now tens to hundreds of voices, also from Ukraine, of people that created it, and those voices can be used across different use cases. And to give you like a total scale, now in our marketplace we have 10,000 voices. We paid back $10 million back to the community, but it's a new mechanism that helps. And a lot of our Ukrainian employees and friends are helping invest in the ecosystem where even more people can do it.
That's great win-to-win, you know, between the customers and the platform. By the way, did you clone your voice?
I did clone my own voice in the early days, and it was accessible, but my voice isn't very good, so I always feel that it's not very representative. So now it's not there anymore, but we have a number of employees whose voices are there and are frequently used, much better voices as well. What's, of course, one of the magic parts of the technology is that it works in the language of origin. So if I'm speaking English, it will work in English. If I speak Polish, it will speak in Polish. But it also works across all the other languages that we support. And we support now 70 plus languages. So you can have my voice speak languages that I would never be able to speak. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is that one of the first voices that was created on the marketplace was a Spanish voice. In Spain, that voice wasn't very popular. But then in English, in US, it became one of the top voices that has been used, which in a way is, if anybody ever wants to explore their talents internationally, this could be a new way. And of course, the same applies to a lot of, I think especially Eastern Europe voices, which have slightly different timbre accent that makes them a little bit different than a lot of the other ones.
Nice. Nice. Your voice, great. So at Ministry, like team actually represented on previous panel, we're moving from the digital state to agentic one. And we faced with a lot of challenges when we released the AI. And what is your vision about the truly agentic application, agentic state? And the voice is a really key of truly represent the full power of AI. What is your thoughts here?
Of course, I'm biased and a little bit, but I think it's a crucial factor. So to make it more concrete, I think the first piece, which voice enables that otherwise is very tricky, it gives access to every part of the population. So previously or today, if you think about AI tooling, you frequently think about the text prompting or using the application through text. But of course, that requires you to know the computer interface, know the mobile interface extremely well. With voice, suddenly this opens it up to the wider population. If you are and that's one of the most common things we hear, if you're a person of older person, you can now use voice to communicate with the devices in a way you could never communicate before. Second thing is, voice carries a lot more information than text. It carries the emotion, it carries the intonation, it carries the imperfections. It allows you to speak more easily than what you provide through text. And that's what we noticed across our work with a lot of customers, where when you introduce voice, people are more keen to share a lot more information than they were before. And as you think about the transition from the digital to agentic, we of course want the services and the access to be as tailored and as useful to the people around. So having as much information shared helps tailor that to be the right result as well. And then the third piece, with the AI, which I think is an incredible transition, you don't anymore search or access information by keywords or specific topics. You start searching them by wider concepts or a longer train of thought. And with AI, you have this incredible way with agents especially, where you can now have access to the services in a much smoother, much seamless way. So for me, as I think about the transition from digital agentic, the biggest unlock in terms of providing the services and kind of cracking this bottleneck where you need to provide a central way of information to every citizen in the country, but you need to tailor that information depending on what their current situation is. And with agents, everyone can have that superpower, and with voice, you can access that in a way you couldn't never before.
Yeah, you're right. My parents, which represent older generation, they use voice because it's much easier than typing something, especially in DIA or governance services. And my child, they also using, voice as well. So that's interesting. You're right.
100%. It's also a lot. So both more accessible. You can just call a phone number and you get the services. And as you said, if you are learning something, you want to be immersed in the learning activity itself. So you want to be able to do the exercise of mathematics or physics. You want to be able to see the visual article. So you don't want additional interface to distract you from that activity itself. And voice helps you stay immersed while providing you all that information. And I think, as I think about the future of education and government hopefully playing a valuable mechanism and role, you can provide a lot of that through voice, through having access to personal tutor, while you still are engaged in the activity of solving a given problem.
Right. Before we jump into a partnership with the Ministry of Digital Transformation Ukraine, can you highlight some success cases in the government? For example, Czech Republic, I read on your blog post, what the cases already implemented and solved real problem of citizens?
Yeah, we see increasing, of course, momentum with how AI can unlock a lot of the services that weren't unlocked. To give the credit to you and the team, I think Ukraine is truly leading in that digital transformation, but we are seeing that in other pockets of the world too. A good example is Czech Republic, where their Department of Labor and Social Care had the problem where they are releasing a lot of the programs about employment, or how to help during the unemployment, how to access benefits, how to apply for the programs. But to be able to learn about all those programs, you need to currently call into the ministry and get the information. And for a long time, 60% of the calls remained unanswered. So you would call the ministry with the problem, and then partly because it was during out of the business hours and partly because not enough staff, nobody would be able to pick that phone. And the main thing we worked through is creating an AI voice agent, so effectively a digital replica of the person on the other side that you can call in and get that information. Now, 85% of the calls are fully AI handled. That's roughly 5,000 calls every single day, which go through the AI tooling. And we are working on expanding this further across the ministry. So not only, which I think is this incredible piece, not only being a reactive mechanism to help you when you have a query or issue, but could it be also a proactive mechanism where you call back the citizens to tell them about the new benefit, tell them about the new program, tell them that their skill set can be applied for a specific new job posting. And I think this transformation is just an incredible example where with not enough supply of being able to handle those calls, suddenly you can have the easier manual part available to everyone.
That's awesome example. 100% already covered, right? So that's amazing measurement. Moving forward, we already implement the digital twin of Mikhailo Fedorov. Thank you a lot. That was a really nice example of real pro voice using ElevenLabs. Who didn't try, so please find the digital twin of Mikhailo in Telegram, then we will release it in WhatsApp. But moving forward, so you know that we wanted to bring voice to DIA Mobile in the MRI application. So, and there are a lot of skepticism, to be honest, around the AI and governance services. Because trust, because the security, etc. How you respond on the security challenges? How the ElevenLabs platform guarantee the trustness and the security compliance in this regard?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important topics, and I completely understand it's if that isn't right, then you cannot deploy the technology. And as you think about ourselves and as pioneers in a lot of the space, it's as important to deliver that in the right way. So specifically when it comes to government, what it means, the first piece is the European and data sovereignty. So you control, you own the data. It doesn't leave the system. It's not used for training. You can have it specifically within your services and nothing else. And as you think about providing any of the compute around any of the models, it's all coming through the European stack. And that's, I think, a most critical thing as you think about deploying any work in the government in Europe. The second thing is you want to make the technology available, but you want to make sure that the security carries at scale. What this means in practice is every access to a specific service or specific API is scoped to that service. So it cannot be abused by any other use case or any other department. And similarly, you monitor usage, you monitor abuse, so you can take action if something happens. And I think the third pillar, and I think that's one of the most important, is safety. The right consents in place if you are recreating the voice like we did with Minister Fedorov, making sure that he needed to capture the voice himself to be able to actually create the voice before that's used, and all that voice and all that technology is able to be traced back to how it was generated, so we have that provenance mechanism too. And then the other part of it is, of course, guardrails. So you need to ensure that the agents or the technology is used within the scope of the work and doesn't go off the rails. So, of course, that includes moderation and checking how the text is created, but also, as you think about deploying those agents, let's say in a specific services in social benefits, that those agents will not move to talking about politics. So all those pillars, whether it's the security at scale, safety, or the European and data sovereignty, are like some of the key pillars that we do as we think about any of the work in the government space.
Awesome. That's why we are moving into, and it's really important for us, you know, how you're bring the trustness, security, compliance, all these aspects of the proving the voices, etc. And we are just signed the memorandum between the Ministry of Digital Transformation and the ElevenLabs. That's so great. You already help a lot. So from the vision, from the technology point of view, and our next step, actually bringing, as I mentioned, the voice into DIA, and currently we have 23 millions of users, right? And we, in MRIA, together, we have about 25 millions of users. So from your perspective, how this real agentic voice integration in governance services will impact, in general, AI governance all around the world?
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm super happy about our work together. It's both just incredible to see the builder energy across the entire team, whether it's you, whether it's Nelly, whether it's Ola, whether it's Danilo, all of the people that are showing us how you can deploy a lot of the technology in that space, which has been just a pleasure to work together. And beyond that, which is almost crazy, is that you and the team are inspiring us, inspiring the rest of the world with what's possible. For us, what this shift represents is the future that we wish existed, and we are proud in building that future. The first piece is where all the information, all the access to the government is available to every citizen in the world. On the central, regional, local level, all those barriers are broken down, and every citizen suddenly has access to the services that they never had access to before or were extremely hard to access. Second one is the future of education. What is happening with MRIA, what is happening with DIA or Sveta, like a lot of the work to help upskill, enable, deliver personalized education, which I think wasn't possible before. And I think both of those themes, future of education, future of government, through that agentic work is something that we are just pleasure to be able to be part of, and hopefully show the rest of the world that even in the hardest of times, you can really lead on the innovation side too.
Thank you a lot again. So that's a really impactful future for us. And lastly, we have a lot of leaders here from the government, from the private sector. what's your piece of advice of the innovation, voicing AI? So yeah, maybe a couple of words here.
Of course, take it with a pinch of salt. I think it's still very new types of engagement for us, and I think for many in the world. But I think the main things that I think worked in the few cases that we worked through is the first is the realization that it's not only a technological transformation, it's also bringing the operational side, the policy side, working with the people on the ground. Second piece is finding the right single use case, ideally lighthouse use case where you can prove value. I think there's a high temptation to work across everything across government, but it's really valuable to pick one specific one and start with clear metrics what you want to deliver. And then the third and last piece is really work with guardrails, with safety from day zero, rather than saving it for later. I think to be able to work with government and work at scale, this needs to happen from day zero. And then, of course, last is find the right partners that want to work together and build together, which without is impossible to deliver true impact.
Great. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for the partnership and the time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dima.